Okay, we're going to get through this one way or the other today. My name is Chuck. I am a hypnotherapist, and I'm here to talk about manifestation and how to get those things in your life that you're working on that's probably not working out too good for you, or you wouldn't be here right now, okay? We have wishes, we have desires, and we have aspirations of getting those particular things. That all operates out of your conscious mind, right? The programming, the operating systems, if you will, operate from your unconscious mind. What's the difference? Your conscious mind is what you're working on your daily basis, right? What you're doing right now. Although you're in a state of hypnosis all the time, some state, some degree in your consciousness, you're in some state of hypnosis. It's called awareness or concentration. That's it. And that's about 5% of your life. Your unconscious mind runs about, well, by the time you're an adult, you run about 95%, 90 to 90, about 95%, we'll say, of your life. So if that being the case, then my life is not what I want it to be. Your unconscious mind is making it that way. So we have to understand how to get around that. And our operating system as a child is that the hypnotic state of the theta brainwave pattern, which is basically 4 to 8 cycles. It's a pretty slow brainwave pattern. It's measurable. And children operating that up to around 7 years old. And you have no filter. You have no judgment, nothing. So whatever goes into your mind up and through being 7 years old, you take it as absolute. You take it as gospel, if you will. It is absolute. And that's what you live by. A lot of it is negative, and some of it has to be negative. Don't run out in front of that car. Don't do this. Don't slap your brother, whatever it happens to be. One of my ex-wives said she used to go in, and when her little brother was born, and she didn't like him, so she'd go in and poke him in the eyes with a finger to make him cry. So I guess she was never told, don't poke your brother in the eyes. So it's like, whatever. But anyway, so you have to be taught some things that are negative, but primarily we have to learn that we are worthy, that we do deserve everything that we desire, as long as it doesn't really cause conflict or do damage to other people. And, that it has to go into our unconscious mind. Well, we got the critical factor there. We have the critical filter. So how does that work? See, the critical filter is there, and whatever you think in your conscious mind does not go straight into your unconscious mind as an adult. But it's got a block. It's got a blockage. You got all this stuff going on back here in your unconscious mind. And you have a dialogue running that says, that's this, you believe that, you don't do this, no, that doesn't work, I don't believe that. There's all going on back here in the negative side in your unconscious mind. Well, that stops things from coming in, and the filter won't let it come through. So you have to get that filter out of the way, and hypnosis does exactly that. In fact, with a good hypnotherapist, a good hypnotist, doing a deep dive into hypnosis, it's very easy. You don't have to, but you can get into that theta brainwave pattern, just like you were a child. And what happens is you don't eliminate that critical factor. It just kind of takes a break. It says, oh, okay, I'll go here for a while and hang out with your conscious mind while you guys are working over there. And so you give suggestions, you give commands, if you will, to your unconscious mind that it will release the negative stuff. There's techniques, there's ways to do that. And then you program that person with a positive side of a positive affirmation of some kind that is now not blocked by the critical factor. And so I asked AI before I started this. I said, okay, I got to figure this out, because I can put it into words, but I understand it and I know it, I see it, experienced it for years. But let's put it into more of a technical term here, and maybe if you're technically minded, or maybe you just understand that there is real things like this. So I asked AI. I said, what is the exact process in our unconscious and conscious mind that hypnosis affects to make lasting changes? Okay, good question. And here's what it came back with. And listen to these first few words carefully. Hypnosis creates lasting changes. Okay, that's what we want, lasting changes, right? But how does it do that? It does that by temporarily altering how the brain filters, integrates, and acts on information between the conscious and the unconscious mind. Okay, so, and again, you have to understand that your unconscious mind does not know the difference. It has no judgment once the filter's out of the way to what's real or what's imagined or belief. And a belief is not an absolute thing. A belief is a thought that you have thought repeatedly over a period of time, or that you were programmed with when you were very young, when you had no filter. Okay. So let's see. Let's deactivate that critical filter. Okay. So we got to set that aside so we can work in our unconscious mind. Normally, the conscious mind's prefrontal cortex acts as an analytical gatekeeper, and that's what I call it, as a gatekeeper all the time, evaluating incoming ideas against past experiences, logical objections, and established beliefs. There's those beliefs again, established. Where did they come from? Most of them came from our childhood. We've added some along the way from here to there, but basically, we were pre-programmed by the time that we were 7 years old. In fact, who was that? One of the great philosophers says, show me a person by the time they're 7 years old. Show me a boy by the time he's 7. I'll show you the man. It's already programmed. It's already in there the way they're going to be. Okay. Hypnosis lowers activity in the default mode network, quieting this inner critic and self-referential analytical chatter. So you have critical and your self-degradizing, I guess you'd say, in your chatter in your unconscious mind. And somehow you have to get around that. You have to stop that. First of all, you have to understand that it's there, and it is constantly. It never changes, or it never goes away. It will change, but it won't go away. And once you get the good stuff in there, then the good stuff is going to be there. It's always there. It's always going on, even when you're asleep. It's still there. Okay. When the gate is open, suggestions bypass conscious resistance and reach the unconscious directly. And that's what we want to do, is get into that your unconscious mind directly. There's only one way to do that, and that is to get rid of that gatekeeper, get rid of that critical factor. And then you find out what the negative stuff is that holds you back. And again, it's just a belief system. It's not absolute. You can basically set that aside. And then through hypnosis, you give yourself positive, I guess you could call them affirmations. You could do an affirmation that way once you're into your unconscious mind, and it will take hold and it will work, and it changes the way you think after you come out of hypnosis. Okay, rewriting unconscious networks, and this is what we're talking about right now. The unconscious mind manages automatic behaviors, emotional associations, and core self-concepts through deeply ingrained neural pathways. In other words, the neural pathways in your brain, if you don't know how that works, they lock together. You have these little things that come off your neurons. They're like little fingers and arms and stuff, dendrils that will actually attach to each other and pass the information one to the other. They actually do touch each other, and over a period of time, these get more solidified and more locked in. So they're in there, and you don't even have to think about it. So it's just there automatically. Okay. Presenting new suggestions during this state triggers the brain to simulate the desired change as real. And there again, your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. So when you give these suggestions in a hypnotic state, it is making your brain, your unconscious mind, think it's real. So it takes it and it acts on it as though it was real. And that forges new neural connections while weakening automatic responses. In other words, the automatic are the ones that were locked together to start with. So you're weakening those with this hypnotic technique, and you're making new connections that will be automatic. And it just takes a little while for all of that to get in place and get working. And it changes your life. And then suddenly, instead of feeling like you're not enough, and that's one of the biggest negativities that most people in this world have, is they feel like they're not enough, they're inferior. They also feel like they don't deserve to be successful. They don't deserve to have all these good things in life. And you got to get into that unconscious mind and make it think that what you're putting in there is real, which it does. It takes it as gospel, and go from there. And it changes. You can change your entire life. You can change not only your thinking. You can not only change what you see in front of you in the physical world. You can change your physical body. You can change your physical health. There are situations in human psychology, and of course, we've all talked about multiple personalities. You know about that, right? Dissociated parts. They call it dissociated parts. That it seems like there's two different people in there. With the multiple personalities, one of the personalities can need to wear glasses and the other one have perfect vision. Same person, same body, same physical apparatus. One can be a diabetic and one not. Think about that. Okay, so how does that happen? That's in the subconscious and unconscious mind. There's what that's at. So aligning voluntary and automatic thought. Hypnosis alters functional connectivity between the executive control network and the insula. What is the insula? We'll talk about that in a second. That is the brain's body-mind connection center. Body-mind connection center. Okay, in hypnosis, we refer to that as a somatic bridge. Somatic referring to your body. It's a bridge between your mind and your body. It actually changes things in your body. Okay? This bridge allows newly accepted unconscious beliefs to align seamlessly with conscious intentions, transforming conscious goals into effortless habits once the hypnotic trance ends. Piece of cake. Hypnosis is the answer. That's what it's about. You can contact me right now through my email. I've been so busy I haven't had time to set up any other contact way. I will get to my emails on my email channel. I'd be happy to work with anybody in person. I do all my work over Zoom. And, you know, a like and maybe a comment would be nice also. Just still working at this, getting it started. This past week, 2 weeks ago, I had an event in my life that was pretty painful and it kind of slowed me down of getting the videos out, but I'm back here now. Just one of my dogs right here in the front yard, and a rattlesnake came in and bit him and he died. And it really hurt, slowed me down a little bit, but I'm back. So all of that stuff there is there to be done. I'll be glad to work with you on a one-to-one basis, or just give you information. I'll be glad to go email back and forth and give you information, what you can do for yourself. I have a self-hypnosis thing coming up. I've been promising that for a while. And like I said, I kind of got slowed down on some of this thing. And every time I get ready to do that, I'm not quite happy with it. And something comes up in my timeline. And I think, oh, I got to incorporate this in it. So I've got it pretty well under control. That'll get there in the next week or two. But right now, just say you can change your life. You can change everything in your life, including your health, strictly through your mind. And hypnosis is the easiest avenue past that critical factor. Come back again. My name is Chuck. Glad to talk to you. Have a great day. And above all else, be at peace.